If you've noticed the classical music I've been using, it's German composers. You'll remember a lot of these from your childhood cartoon days. But now, I want to present a simple Strathman ancestor tree for your understanding. I mean, we're back to 1490, over 500 years. We can all thank Bill Strathman in Des Moines for his very early German information that he's managed to track down. This beautiful tree had to start a long time ago, and it spread its roots and began our family's branches, beginning with Henke, followed by Hinke, then Gert, and his father Gert. Excuse my improvised German accent. Now we come to the repetitive part of naming. Hermann is born. You're going to hear this one a lot. So that Hermann has a son named Menke, and he has a son, Johann Hermann. The Johann Hermann names his son Johann Hermann. He is the one that came to America. Just take a glance at the family name list of just Strathmans, and like any other immigrant, naming trends come from the current land of residence. Kyle, Nate, Abby, Carly. Let's walk up and take a look at this tree. Child Mary becomes Mrs. Henry Blunk, and they live in St. Louis, 1872 to 1925. Henry, the lifelong bachelor, homesteads Kansas, Oklahoma. Yep, that's a sod house. Those are some crazy digs. He did leave a $9,000 piece of property when he died, though. Bachelor life. Conrad's adult life was rather short. He did marry, have 2 children, but then died 7 years later, all in St. Laborie. John, quite the innovator, one of the photographers, married, had 11 children, and 10 of those became photographers. He opened at least 4 studios and lived all of his life in southern Illinois. He farmed, barbered, blacksmithed, and photoed. Bill in Des Moines amassed quite a database on the extended family. You're lucky for that. Enter Teresa. This is a strong woman. She marries Henry Kinkler, had 7 kids, and they homesteaded out west. Complete with the covered wagon, your house is built from the sod you cut, and you have a sidearm nearby for those hungry coyotes. Sometimes they're your dinner. Her husband works as a cowboy along the Cimarron Trail. She's home alone with her children for days. She does everything. That's a wheelbarrow full of cow poop, people, burned on the prairie for heat because there's no wood. You've heard the saying, get out of Dodge. Well, they actually settled in Dodge City and lived to the ripe old age of 82. Their pioneer story was written by their son Henry and is available at the Kansas Historical Society archives. Herman T. was like John, eager to branch away from farming. He became a licensed barber and did photography for a time in Breeze and Germantown, Illinois. He married twice and, like John, remained in southern Illinois his whole life. At 83, he was struck by a car on his way to Mass at St. Laborie and died. A happy Catholic, no doubt. Not everyone was free of complications. Magdalena, married at 23 to Henry Mentz in nearby Fayetteville, had 2 children. Her son died just before 1-year-old, and sadly she died 2 years later, leaving a 3-year-old daughter and husband. Next in line is Mary. I just don't have a lot of information about she and her husband Peter Marks. They had 4 children and lived and died out in western Kansas. I'm sorry, I don't even have photos, and I have 7,000 photos. If you're counting, this is number 10, Frank B. Proud to say, my great-grandfather. Now, I never met the man, but his son Frank, my grandfather, started me in genealogy, so I have a plethora of information. I'll do this quickly. Frank married a nice German lady, Ida Fietzen. They had 11 kids. He was a photographer for 50 years, started on the railroad, pitched a tent for a while, and finally was able to build a studio of his own. Boom! Now, I heard he was cantankerous, but I found the papers about the money, film, and cameras that he donated to an Alaskan children's mission for 20 years. He had a softer side. Joseph, number 11, the youngest and one of the saddest because he died young. When Joe was 18, he went with his brothers Frank and John to a ranch in Fidelity, Kansas to work for the winter, making a little extra money. Remember, the dad was dead. Just after New Year's in 1888, young Joe contracted pneumonia and died at the ranch. His brother Frank was holding him. I really wish I had a picture. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this. I have so many stories to tell, but I try to keep it just at 5 minutes.